Hi guys, welcome to my channel Diner in Colour. Today I want to have a little bit of a serious conversation surrounding what's been happening in the world and in America in regards to George Floyd and how that's kind of affected everybody's kind of approach on advocating against racism. So first let's talk about Booktube. So there seems to be a little bit of a preconceived notion that Booktube isn't the place to talk about issues of race and racism, that it's an apolitical space. By definition, books are political, and I only have to list books like Another Country, The Hate You Give, Americana, to name just a few, to show that books are political. And I think that if you're a booktuber and you don't realize that, it's a little bit weird. I feel like books in themselves are all about empathy. They're all about putting yourself inside of someone else's shoes. They're all about stepping inside another world and understanding somebody else's lived experience, which again really lends itself to this issue. All those books I mentioned point to books being very important vehicles for change. And I also find it odd because the whole reason I started my Booktube channel is because I wanted to have a platform to promote authors of colour and to promote black voices, because I acknowledge that they weren't really being uplifted in the same way as white voices, particularly in the book world. So my channel in itself it's always about race, and that's because my life is always about race, because I'm a black woman and it's ingrained in my experience, in my existence. When I think about some of the booktubers who say that, you know, I just want my channel to be about books, or, you know, like, I don't really want to talk about this on this channel, it's not really the space for it, I feel like that in itself is a privilege, because I don't get to do that. I don't get to, you know, leave racism behind because it just follows me everywhere. We all have the power to affect change. Booktube is a really great place for that. So let's talk about George Floyd. So never in my life have I seen such a huge outpouring of support for the Black Lives Matter movement. 3 or 4 years ago, I was at a Black Lives Matter protest and there were only 16 of us there. And given I live in New Zealand, yes, but the protest that happened last week, the turnout was overwhelming, the support was overwhelming. And I can't help but wonder and be a little bit cynical of why now? Why do people suddenly care now? And I get that there was a video, everybody's seen that video, but this isn't the first time there's been a video. And the black community have been speaking out about this for years and years and years and years. So I can't help but wonder, why now? Why is it suddenly trendy to support black issues and to speak out against racism? And yes, we've been saying the same thing about police brutality, but we've also been saying the same things about the racism or the way that black people get treated on Booktube, within the Booktube community. So I've seen the black Booktube community speak about black channels not getting any support or getting less support than their white counterparts. I've seen black authors being forgotten and overlooked. I've seen black YouTubers or black booktubers being overlooked for partnerships and sponsorship deals. I've seen colorism. I've seen lighter skinned booktubers get opportunities over darker skinned YouTubers. And then I've seen black YouTubers in general get underlooked for opportunities in favour of white booktubers. I've seen dark-skinned female booktubers being ignored by book companies. I've seen bigger non-black YouTubers post everywhere else on every other platform, Twitter, Instagram, in support of the Black Lives Matter movement and speak out against racism, except for the place where they have their biggest following and their biggest platform on Booktube. And I've seen an entire community of people continuously getting gaslighted for talking about issues that people keep telling them don't exist. And it fucking sucks that it takes a video of the unlawful murder of yet another black citizen to get people to wake the fuck up. All of this stuff has got me thinking about what it means to be a good ally. I've never seen so much chat about racism. Like, obviously the black people I follow already post a lot about racism, but I've never seen so much widespread information and activity on social media, but it just feels like it's trendy. It just feels like it's trendy to be woke. It feels like people are posting all this stuff on their social media just for woke points and for social clout. It's cool to be seen at a Black Lives Matter protest. It's suddenly cool to support Black people, Black authors, Black creatives. It's suddenly cool to speak out against racism. If I see one more "I understand that I will never understand, but still I stand" post, I am just gonna have a breakdown, because what the fuck does that even mean? Like, I understand the sentiment, but instead of reposting something that we've heard so many times doesn't even fucking mean anything anymore, maybe I want to hear what you actually think. I want to hear what you think about everything that's happened with your own words, and I want to know what you're gonna do about it. What is, yeah, it's all good and well to say "I stand," but what does that fucking mean? Like, what does "I stand" mean? What are you doing? Because the same people I see reposting stuff, going to protests, marching, having this big kumbaya moment, are the same people I've seen use the N-word, and the same people who don't call out racism when they see it, and the same people that support brands that have terrible records for their inclusion and diversity. There's just no follow through, and it all just feels a little bit hollow. And my issue with this is that, yeah, there's going to be this huge burst of activity now, but this is just going to be a moment, and in 2 weeks we'll forget about it and we'll move on to the next big issue, and this will just be like, oh, remember when we cared about racism? Oh yeah, that's cute, you know? So if you're gonna post on social media, make it count. Direct people to petitions. Tell people when protests are happening. Disseminate information about how to stay safe at a protest. Share resources, share information, and use your actual words instead of kind of just backpacking off somebody else's. Make an effort. Don't just repost one dumb, meaningless post and expect everyone to give you a pat on the back for solving racism. For many Black people, this isn't a moment in history. This is our everyday lived experience. This is the same stuff that we've been talking about. So it's just highly disrespectful for you guys to kind of just jump in when it's convenient for you and just discard it when it's no longer relevant anymore. The main thing that I want to see from everyone is consistency. Will you still be posting about this in a week? Will you still be posting about this in a month? Will you still be posting about this next year? I think during this time as well, and in conversations about race, white people are always encouraged to shut up and stay silent while the Black people are talking. And this time around, I actually think it's more important now more than ever to hear white voices and voices of non-Black people of colour, because it takes all of us working together to help this. Racism is a system of privilege. It's all about privilege and power, and Black people, we don't have any privilege or power, and white people do. So it's important now that they use their voices and they use their power and their privilege to speak out, using their own words, to advocate, to call out their racist friends, to speak to their dads who are on boards, to use their power to actually make change instead of just Instagramming, you know? There's a quote that I've talked about in a previous video from James Baldwin that says that racism is a white invention. It's not a Black problem, it's a white one, and it's not up to Black people to solve it. And in order to have white people, you know, be part of the solution, we need them to be part of the conversation. And I know that a lot of my white friends will come up to me and they'll be like, I want to help, I want to be a good ally, please, like, how can I help? And on one hand, it's exhausting because it's not my job to educate you, it's not my job to teach you. Like, it's exhausting to have to, I don't know, always speak about racial issues and always have the answers. I don't have the answers, I'm figuring out myself. Educate yourself. That's what I did. No, there was no one there to teach me. I taught myself. You can teach yourself. You can use the same resources I use. You can go out and find the information, and you can use what you've learned and speak about it and share it with other people and use it in your everyday life. Make it part of your consistent and continued effort to be part of the solution. I wanted to round this video off with something you can actually do to help with, by giving you a set of things, a set of tools that you can actually do starting right now to actually be part of the solution. Rather than me just calling a bunch of people out for not doing anything, I thought you know, it would also be good for me to kind of give you ways to actually help. So the first thing is stay consistent. Keep posting, even after this isn't trendy anymore, even after people lose interest, keep posting. No justice, no peace. On Booktube, here are some things that you can do, especially for the people who say that I just want to post about books and I don't want to, you know, ruin my feed. Post about books from Black authors that you'd like to read. Post about Black authors that you're interested in reading. Post about books by Black authors that you've already read. Support your Black booktubers. Watch their videos, share their videos, engage with their videos, and if you like what you see, promote it. Next thing is read diversely. And not just, I'm gonna read 5 books this month by a Black person and never read a book by a Black person again. Make a consistent effort to keep reading diversely. Try and incorporate at least 1 book by a person of colour, particularly a Black person, a Black author, every month. Make it a habit. Make it part of what you already do. Put a system in place to keep yourself accountable. Call out racism in books. Over my time at Booktube, I have seen a slew of racist books crop up, and I've seen white people say, oh, you know what, like, you know, Twilight was just such a big part of my childhood that I just, you know, like, I don't care. It's okay for you to like these books. We all like problematic books, but don't skirt over the racism. Acknowledge it, research it, talk about it, include that in your review, okay? When you talk about these books, acknowledge the racism, talk about it and call it out instead of just ignoring it because you don't want to change some teen fiction book about a fucking lecherous vampire and a girl with no personality. Beyond Booktube, sign petitions, share petitions, go to marches, and if you don't want to go to marches, share information about how to stay safe at marches, share information and resources, talk to your racist relatives, talk to your Trump supporting grandparents, call them out on their racism. If you have friends that say the N-word, call them out on it. If you say the N-word, stop. If you see racism in your workplace, at your school, in everyday life, speak out. Be a mate, use your power, use your privilege, help someone out. And don't overburden your Black friends. I've had a bunch of people reach out to me during this time, and while I do really appreciate it, it's also fucking exhausting. It feels like I'm constantly just having to kind of go through this obstacle course of just difficult conversations about race. And yes, while I love a difficult conversation about race, it is hard to divulge every single horrible racist thing that's happened to me and what I think about the world and how it's so shit every single conversation I have with a white person just because you've suddenly discovered racism, you know? Be kind to your Black friends, and when you're talking to them about stuff, be aware that they've probably had that conversation so many times. That's all for today. Next, I'll also be doing a video on some great Black booktubers you can follow, which I'm going to be consistent with. I'm going to keep doing it every month. I'm going to take my own advice. And I am also going to be doing a video on just great books for kind of educating yourself, even though I said it's not my job, I want to do it, on some books that can kind of help you understand the Black experience and learn a bit more about racism and what you can do to help. Yeah. So I hope that you took something out of this video. As always, I want to hear your opinions, good or bad. Come fight me in the comment section, square up, and let's have a conversation about it. Yeah, have a great day, have a great week. I will see you in my next video.